𝗕𝗲𝗂𝗏 at Bosch. Please welcome him with a huge round of applause. Ms. Vidya Sarathy, Chief Financial Officer and Whole-Time Director, 𝗃𝗏 India Limited. Meenakshi Ts, Head of Finance Digitization at Narayana Health. Harish Pasupulate, Director of Finance and Finance Systems at JLL. And Mr. Vivek MP, Director of Finance India at 𝗕𝗲𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗏. And this panel would be moderated by 𝗨𝗪𝗍, who is Director India Asian ANZ at 𝗬𝗏𝗔𝗏𝗏𝗏. Please welcome the entire panelists with a huge round of applause. Requesting all of you to please come on stage.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for sparing your time today for joining for this panel discussion. I'm 𝗨𝗪𝗍, and it's a pleasure for me to have an esteemed panel. The esteemed panel which has already been introduced, I will maybe call out one by one, and maybe if you could kindly self-introduce yourself for a brief, quick minute of self-introduction, and after that I will move forward. So over to you, Rajib. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, hi, myself, Harish Pasupulate. I come from a multinational real estate consulting firm. I am designated and responsible for KPIs and quality assurance for finance operations globally. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, all of you. This is Meenakshi. I head the finance digitization as a project for Narayana Health. A finance professional, but just moved into digitization space.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Vivek MP. I'm the Director of Finance for India Operations. I'm part of Herbalife Nutrition India. So I take care of end-to-end finance, financial operations and financial reporting. And I am a qualified chartered accountant. I worked for the PwC and GE in the past. Thank you. It's really a pleasure being with all of you.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Vidya Sarathy. I'm the Chief Finance Officer and Whole-Time Director of 𝗃𝗏 India Limited, which is a US multinational. Prior to this, I was with Bosch for a longer time in the software space. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rajib Basu. I'm responsible for the accounting operations for 𝗃𝗏 India and also for external reporting for all legal entities in India. I have a total of 22 years of experience in various geographies, Asia Pacific, North America, and also EMEA. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. A very highly experienced panel across the industry, the cross section of the industry. I think the whole idea of this panel conversation is we want to look at discussing about many areas basically. So let me set the context first basically. I'll give you certain data points to begin with. First and foremost is major enterprises have at least 40 different document classes and over 200 plus document types to manage while they are running their business. Another data point is very few enterprises have actually industrialized their automation initiatives. Nearly 90% of these organizations want to get there in the next 2 to 3 years. According to one of the McKinsey global executive surveys, 70% of the respondents say their organizations are at least piloting the automation of business processes in one or more business units or functions. And one of the Forbes comments was that by 2025, 50% of the business-to-business invoices worldwide will be processed and paid without manual intervention. So these are very interesting kind of data points which I thought I'll gather and kind of share out here. And as Vinod said that data is the fuel for the digital automation, and without data, it is very difficult to really achieve a more holistic approach to an intelligent automation, basically. Now, the question out here basically is there's something called digitization, and the second aspect is digitalization. Now, there's a difference between the two, because when you're looking at digitizing something, it is about not bringing any kind of major transformation, but actually just digitally enabling, converting an existing process into a digital process without any major transformation. Whereas when you're looking at digitalization, you're actually looking at a transformation. So, given the kind of maybe the challenges given the kind of industry experiences which we have out here, I have certain kind of questions for the panel. And maybe I'll start with you first, Harish. Okay. I'll start with you for Harish, and then we'll kind of go in the round robin. If you could share from your perspective, what are some of the key industry trends or industry trends which you are seeing and you have witnessed in the recent past, and any kind of technologies and kind of implementations which you have done or you have seen happening across?
Thank you. So generally in real estate space, there are so much to talk about when it comes to technology. Usually the buzzword is protect, property and then technology. So one thing is machine learning and then artificial intelligence. Most of us would have experienced it when you get into any property search. After first search, second search, it recommends few properties. That's the technology behind the scenes. And another one is if you want more information, there is a bot pops up and says, what do you want and what are the questions? That's the technology. And then big data. Most of time I have heard that data and then real estate consultants, brokers, co-brokers should have a very good partnership. Means they have to understand what data is trying to talk to them, because once they have that data, that's where they will be able to frame a wonderful strategy and then add real value to the leadership purpose statement. And then during COVID, most of us would have experienced that is virtual reality. Like sitting at home, we can see few things, but now it has taken second, third or fourth layers where even apartment or where I have a shell, I have to design that. I don't know how do I do that. Virtual reality will actually show how it will look once that is completed. That's the experience. So these are the current trends, and then there are so much evolution in technology in real estate space.
So, Meenakshi, over to you. If you could give some perspective, you have worked in so many varied type of organizations, and right now you're working in the healthcare sector. So something maybe some differentiated stuff that you could mention.
Sure. Like you rightly said, my experience has been sort of in across industries. So I've spent time in FMCGs. I've been with the shared service. I've been with chemicals and a little bit of media as well. So it's a career of over 20 years. So I think now in the healthcare part, if I see, it's a very unique journey that's happening in healthcare, because I've gone through this and I'm able to appreciate it more. It's a learning, because I didn't realize that so much automation and digitization is there and the journey has started. Because what's happening is, unlike in other industries, the operations part in most healthcare is very highly automated, and we don't realize it because we're only seeing the paperwork and that part of it. With COVID, I feel that the front end has also come in. You see, most of the hospitals are into apps, and you get into portals, and all that has come in. So that part has also happened. So COVID helped do that. And ordering medicines, all the related activities, and you can choose the doctor you want to, and all that happens. But now what I feel is, after COVID, just a few years later, now the focus has gone to the back end, because the front end has moved so fast, the operations and the last part of the leg has got into a digital mode, and the journey has started. The back end part of it, whether it's the support functions, whether it's finance or HR, we feel, if we don't catch up, we won't be able to support the operations effectively. So that's where I feel the focus is coming in healthcare, and that's what I sense across in most healthcare. And a lot of focus on electronic medical records and all that, even from a government part of it. So, if we don't catch up, it creates a problem. So, that's the role which I'm playing, and it's a learning actually, to know that you always think of other industries in digitization, but actually a lot of action in the healthcare space.
And in the back end, just a follow-through question. In the back end, which are the top priority areas do you see? Just not to go into detail, but maybe.
Yeah, see, I would say to an extent, if you see a marketing space, let's say, that almost is a front end. So, that sort of partner, then it gets into that space. I would say finance and HR would follow that quite a lot, I would say. So, I mean, the basics would be there, ERPs and stuff like that would be there. The leapfrogging to the next level to match the operations and give a better experience to the patient, I think that's where the action would be coming forward.
Okay, fine. But the focus is ultimately, how do you improve the experience, customer experience?
Yes, it's
perfect.
Patient experience is what we want to make it life easy for them.
Perfect. So over to you, Vivek. From your perspective, you are the Director for Finance for Herbalife, which is a very, very large organization. So, and you've done a lot of great work when we were discussing. So, a very interesting perspective from you would be really appreciated.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Ashish. I think last couple of hours we were discussing about the automation. Maybe just want to highlight what are the areas. I think one of the area, I manage end-to-end finance. I think Meenakshi was mentioning about the finance. I think that is an area where each and every team will have a connectivity with regard to each and every process flow. So I think the first organization has to identify what is the structured, unstructured, and try to demarcate where can we utilize this structure, whether the existing systems can actually utilize this structured data and made the automation, which will bring in efficiencies in the processes and also the customer service. Now, we have also come across unstructured. We try to use the APIs and try to make it structured wherever. So I think going back to the point on the data, I think data is one of the critical component where we have to really go and see how can we make it utilize that data. I think that is a root or base information to see how can we automate it. So we have done the API integration in one of the example. We have done an integration with the banking system and our organization system and try to make it remove the manual errors and make it an automation in the system, which has really leveraged with regard to the both the faster service to the customers and the internal efficiencies. I think, yeah, this is a case which I want to add.
Yeah, Vivek, so from a trend perspective, just to get the essence of the whole thing, from a trend perspective, you see that there is a consciousness now that you want to differentiate what is structured and unstructured, number one. And now you want to bring the unstructured data so that you can, in a structured form, which you can consume. So that's something which you see as a awareness which is now building up. And do you see that happening within the teams, or is it only at the leadership level?
No, absolutely. I think it's last 5 to 10 years, most of the organizations are focusing on this. I think, Ashish, you brought in the right point where it went up to the team level to see which can be automated, which needs to be, need not be. I'm going to say they will identify which are the areas of automation. And nowadays, most of the organizations have created that line where to identify the process improvements and process efficiencies. I think most of the companies started that journey, and it's a long time. Definitely, it is a long journey which will happen. Absolutely. And yes, I can say that answer for your question. Yeah.
Absolutely, wonderful. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So, Vidya, over to you, please. Being with one of the largest, the largest companies in the world, basically, you would have different type of businesses to support and the type of challenges which you would need to address. And also before that, having worked in a manufacturing organization, which is quite different because they manufacture everything. Bosch used to manufacture everything on their own, whereas 3M, you have a mix of multiple types of businesses. Now, from a trends perspective, what are the top 1 or 2 unique things which you see? What was maybe there in manufacturing versus what is there, and maybe add your perspective on that, please.
Yeah, see, if you see the manufacturing industry, with respect to manufacturing processes, they have robots or they have artificial intelligence and then some smart equipment kind of things which helps them in the manufacturing process. But nevertheless, the corporate functions of any industry needs all these kind of support, because what we see is the trend that you need to close your books faster, so that it gives reporting at the right time to the management to take decisions. So being part of a global company, we have like all the companies have to just transfer the data on 3rd of the working day of a month, and then therefore they're able to consolidate by 6th or 7th globally. So that means the speed at which your data should flow, and then how fast it should be accurate, reliable, because we are also subject to a lot of controls globally also, as well as being a listed company in India, you have to have reliable, accurate data. So here what happens is organizations which were doing all the work in-house, for example, all the work was basically starting, you do the work in-house, then we came to a situation where you started a center of excellence. You know, every company thought that you need to have a center of excellence for the transactional part, because it's like core, non-core, what can be done by somebody else. So like that we segregated, and these center of excellence, they became bigger. Either they did jobs for many companies, or they had their own group entities which gave them the job, so they became really very big and voluminous. So therefore they went into automations like robots and artificial intelligence and all that. But again, when you go into these robots, again, as Vivek was saying, you have structured data, you have unstructured. So the unstructured, again, there is a lot of manual intervention. It carries away the time. So, but nevertheless, your day is like 3rd day, you have to transmit. So nobody is going to sit and listen to you whether somebody did some mistake or something like that. So as a finance controller, you always want to have reliable data, you know, because you can't, or somebody can go ill sometimes. So we want to have that seamless thing happening. So that is the way I think this IDP will really help to translate all that unstructured also into structured, and then therefore the robot can kind of have a continuous seamless process to complete on time. And we also have this medical care, healthcare. Also we support US hospitals, where we do this, we take all the patients' information, and then we create data, and then we store it in cloud, and that gets accessed by the hospital doctors. So they don't have to bring the entire history. The patient doesn't have to bring that entire file every time he has to walk into the hospital. Everything is available. So the doctor is able to pull out that, retrieve it faster, because it is stored in cloud, and that helps, you know. So it gives a good customer experience. And also in times of COVID, when no one wanted to really get into an hospital unless you are COVID impacted. So that those days also it really helped, because the patients are getting the support what they wanted from the doctors sitting at home. So I think these are all good improvements that business should take, and we should not see that as an investment. It is really required, because you need the reporting your data at the right time to take right decisions.
So see, India is far more ahead in terms of maybe the hospital part of the journey compared to the rest of the world. And that's what purely my observation also has been, that what digital adoption maybe in the healthcare which has been happening, and you call it maybe hospitals, you call it on the payer or provider side in the American terms, basically, the adoption of digital solutions across multiple areas is far more advanced compared to maybe the rest of the world. I would call them primitive actually. But if you look at, and you rightly said, I think the patient journey throughout, and that is where being able to service that patient and the customer as a customer, basically, so that they are able to access doctor services, access the information, and proactively what you call engage with the healthcare staff, basically. And that's where I think a lot of stuff is actually needed. Absolutely wonderful. So, and the document and a lot of data, because it resides in very semi-structured and unstructured forms, getting that patient journey smoothened out basically is a very important one of the trends, absolutely. And we do see that some of my colleagues in maybe the US side of business, they do talk about a lot of healthcare solutions, and that's one of their focus areas. Absolutely wonderful.
Because
so,
you have different doctors with different handwriting and all that, so this really picks up and then puts it in a form which is readable.
Absolutely.
And therefore it becomes very convenient for the patient also to know where he is and what is his report.
So Rajib, over to you.
Yeah.
Your perspective about, you've been now maybe how many, 10 years now?
In Bosch, yeah.
In Bosch.
10 years.
And you would have seen, being in one company, a lot of gradual changes, and there's a lot of German legacy, having that what you call idea of plan first, and then execute when you have a lot of things in place, basically. So, what trends do you now see, and how do you see that really helping in maybe future journeys in similar type of organizations?
Yeah, I think Vidya ma'am mentioned, and all of us, I think, already told most of the trends. If I have to just be, there's not specific to manufacturing industry. I think if you look at the trend today, back from, let's say, 5 years back, there is a huge democratization which is happening of, the whole, digitization and automation. Earlier it was looked at more as a topic of ROI, and then we need to invest or not, and then such kind of things. And we have been hearing this word in the boardrooms for a while now. It's going on for the last so many years. What I see right now is even in this value I would say the high value, let's say accounting services. Ma'am spoke about closing, preparation, financial statements, notes to accounts. I think all these today are digitized, are automated, and it happens seamlessly. I mean, even for us, we are already in the process of automating the end-to-end preparation of financials, till notes, till it is served in front of the board. The whole process right now, it's in a pilot stage, but the whole process is getting automated. And I think what is happening is, as leaders, there is a lot of focus on investing in digitization and automation. This is number one. Number two is, of course, as you rightly said, German companies are extremely conscious about platforms. But if I look at Bosch today also, especially in India, we have already investing in a lot of tools. Let's say we talk about analytics. So tools like Power BI or Tableau. This has become like it's something which the leaders are saying that if you don't bring the schedule in a Power BI, I'm not going to look at it. Yeah, I call this English Winglish, and that's the reason. The first thing which I did is I created a small team under me who is just interpreting the requirements and then giving it to IT. Yeah, and of course this is headed by an engineer, not by a chartered accountant, by an engineer who also has a good knowledge of the finance operations. So this is very important, and this is really and a lot of tools. If you look at process mining tools, we are working with Celonis to understand the what and why of, let's say, if it's a payables or receivables. So these are few trends which definitely are changing, I would say, the game changer right now.
And you're able to do that because you have already set that foundation.
Yes.
Of being able to digitize that basic data.
Basically. Exactly.
And obviously, the journey still continues because it's never the end of the whole, what you call the evolution, basically. But you continue doing that and continue bringing in more data on which you can what you call do insights, analytics, and so on.
Yes, and if you look at the data, ma'am spoke about also about this, this complex unstructured structure. See, we also do a lot of work for Germany. Yeah, so a lot of this. Let's take example of payables. So we have a lot of invoices which from the European Union which comes in. It has different currencies. So for example, there is a reporting currency, there is a local currency. And in the European Union and all these countries, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, they have to put the local currency because the VAT has to be declared in the local. So in one invoice, you have euros, you have Hungary, you have Czechos. So I think right now the need of the hour is that we have to, use this kind of IDP, tools which can seamlessly, help us at least in this work of, let's say, tax. How do we really calculate the right VAT, for the European Union. I think these are few things which we have already implemented. We are also partnering with a lot of companies. Rosom is one of the companies we have already partnered. So these are things which are already happening. These trends. Yeah.
Got it. Right, fair enough. So the basic is that unless until you don't digitize, you will not be able to move forward in the journey. Perfect. Okay. Now coming to the next question is about, I'll start from you, Rajib, again, from that side to this side, basically. In terms of the barriers and limitations, now maybe top one or two which comes to your mind, we want to keep it very, very short. That what are some of the barriers or limitations which you have seen in trying to adopt any form of IDP solutions?
Yeah, I think one barrier, if I can think of, is the identification of the processes. I think sometimes we are not able to identify the pain points. Whether it's a CFO or any of the heads of the organization will tell you that people are not able to identify those priorities which needs to be to be automated or digitized. Yeah. So look at those requirements where if I look at because for us, for the most important thing was not complexity, but look at cases where a lot of manual keying in is required. So you kind of take those as use cases. But sometimes it also failed. Let's say I'll give an example. So we wanted to automate the FI or the non-purchase order related invoices, especially for the German company codes. And we tried. I'll not name the company, but we tried with using this AI and an RPA solution, but it didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work out because of various complexities. I think even if it doesn't work in the initial, we should not give it up. I think because the machine is also learning, and maybe after a year or so, you get a confidence level where you can fix those issues. So initially, if you look at 3-4 years back, people were just saying, no, it's not working. So RPA not working. So maybe it should be a combination of RPA, AI, ML, or maybe it should be a platform-based solution. I think we heard this platform, right? So it should be a platform-based solution. So I think these are few limitations, and of course the right tool. Understanding which tool should be the right tool, what kind of capabilities it should have. So these are definitely was the limitations.
Wonderful. So in terms of what I clearly see here loud and clear is being able to prioritize and select the right process or which you want to bring into the IDP journey is one of the most critical factors. Okay, I think that's where you need maybe some kind of what you call methodology. How do you want to go back and choose the right process, basically? And the second thing is many tools in the past have had maybe failures. Okay, because the tools itself have been maturing. Okay, and over a period of time, you found certain kind of tool which maybe meets some of your criteria. And I'm sure there will be a lot of other tools which will come out in the marketplace, absolutely. So yes, there is a maturity which is happening over a period of time, because at the end of it, all these tools use AI and machine learning and natural language processing capabilities at the back end. Okay, and over a period of time, the more data you feed into it, the more mature those platforms are actually going to become. So absolutely understandable. Not to maybe demean any kind of a vendor and so on and so forth, but I think the point of view is that the platforms mature over a period of time, and then some platforms will mature faster because they may have a different type of architecture or different kind of an approach. Some platforms will mature slower for multiple other reasons, basically. So that's great. So the same question which I would like to now bring in Harish yourself. That what are some of the challenges, limitations, or barriers which you see in the adoption of IDP or similar type of technologies? Maybe top 1 or 2 points which come to your mind.
I will just get one string from my friend's talk. One is whether my system is ready to learn. Because when I use IDP, there are two things. One is challenge of language variability, because the format gets changed and then business wording or language may change. So it should have such a database, and then machine should get taught or trained that so much anything get changed, it easily recognizes the format and then the vocabulary what it gets onto the invoice or the receipt. Another one is another challenge is ambiguity, because sometimes it's not just the system invoices or system receipts. Sometimes, say for example, in India, most of the invoices comes with written language. Can system understand that? Or sometimes even the signature comes, the handwritten signature, can system understand that? That's the biggest challenge which I have seen in many cases.
Okay, so a mix of written and printed kind of documents. It's quite natural. Where you have paper, you will have somebody scribbling on top of that in terms of checking and so on and so forth. So that's technology limitation. In terms of any kind of maybe adoption limitation or anything else which comes to your mind, one key important.
Yeah, one thing is selecting a right partner is so important, because when we say partner, he should be able to understand what is my purpose, and then along with that, he should be able to understand how my business operates. Okay, without he would have been successful in other business lines, the way they work, but it cannot be adapted. Like, it's not that off the shelf, is it? Like, so he has to come and then understand, as I said, what is my problem. He should be able to help me to identify that, and then tailor it to suit to my business line, the way I work. And sometimes I may be very geo-specific, only for one region, or my business line can be spread across the globe. Different languages, the way we work, etc. So if we have a partner who can be very flexible, the way the system gets integrated with multiple systems, and also trying to sit next to me and understand my leadership vision, that's where the success comes.
Fine. Perfect. Thank you. So, Meenakshi, sorry, Vidya yourself. From your perspective, what type of challenges or limitations do you see?
See, what I would expect from IDP as a challenge could be, I would kind of put it in three different levels. Like, one is at the document level. The document level, now you're saying that you can also extract it from handwritten piece and all that stuff. So different types of documents. So there could be, see, as a customary practice, we use abbreviations, you know. Each company has so many abbreviations, but then that might not be known to the IDP kind of thing. So we have to be more clear as to all those things. Also has to be more specified. Otherwise, it may not be able to specify, pick up that, extract that information. Then handwriting also, we may not write long sentences, very short. So those could be some challenges, but we need to kind of work around it. The other type level can be on the rules that we set. So any system, if you take, it depends on what you give the system. So if you set rules which are a little bit complex, or which can be contradictory to each other, or which is like mutually exclusive, then again there could be difficulty in selecting which rule it has to follow. So we as a user also need to understand that it will just do what we say.
Correct.
And we cannot expect more than that, because not a human being. So therefore we need to kind of think in those terms, make it very simple, make the rules that it is not like contradicting to each other. So those kind of things, as a user, I think we need to kind of take care of that. The other part could be on the integration between internal integration. Then it also has to take external data. So those aspects also could be a challenge, but all these are workable, you know. So we have to be mindful of what we should expect, and therefore we need to kind of arrive at what we need to give.
Okay, perfect. So definitely, all these are very practical things. I think these are very practical aspects which I'm sure you would have gone through or are going through as we speak right now. So very valuable insights. Excellent. I'll come to my next question. From your perspective, and this question is to you, Harish, is about what would be your advice to the function heads who are considering bringing up IDP and automation along with other technologies in your existing maybe RP environments or wherever you're using some intelligent automation capabilities and so on and so forth, and any kind of best practice which you would like to suggest?
Thank you. So one thing which I have done personally, and then I have seen my most of my friends doing when they are doing global transformation, is set your purpose statements tight. Know what you want to achieve first, and then, as he said, identifying the opportunity. I don't want to call it as challenges or issues, opportunity, because each challenge now with the technology, you turn the flip side, it's an opportunity. So there are many tools in the market, like say for example, you apply design thinking, you will be able to identify a number of opportunities. So once you identify that opportunity, get the buy-in within the leadership. And then I even heard from the talk, I think Amit or Vinod was saying that change management is so important. Is my leadership is aligned with what I'm trying to achieve with the technology? Is it my leadership is okay if I bring someone for implementing few things which gets integrated to my statutory systems, etc. If that is straight, and then I think it should be okay. I think we should be able to manage. Yeah.
Okay, fine, perfect. So getting the leadership aligned to that, what you call the core objective or the goal, basically, which you said, and making them commit to your journey is very, very important.
Very, very important.
Fine, fair enough. And any kind of best practice, one best practice which comes as top of mind, which you may want to suggest.
One thing is, it's not just always technology. It's more of people. So get them into the complete journey.
Okay.
Means it's not just getting identifying the opportunity from them and then leaving them aside.
Okay.
From the day they give, this is the opportunity, get them involved in all through the journey, and also when you get successful, get them part of that success.
Got it. Perfect. Vivek, would like to invite your valuable insights about your advice, because you handle the finance function in totality, basically. So I'm sure you have experienced lots of good and the bad things, basically. So what is the advice from that learnings which you have had over so many years around considering automation, and maybe top one or two things which come to your mind, and along with that maybe one or best practice which you think would be?
Yeah, definitely, Ashish. One thing which I wanted to say, I've been in the Herbalife Nutrition India from past 10 years. I have seen the day one where a lot of manual activities are being taken place, and we have started the journey from past few years about the automation. So I think, see, the one confidence which we have to give, first of all, identification, which we were discussing about the process. Identification, where are the opportunities to make a automation? And the second thing, I think we have to give the confidence to the teams that they are actually doing the automations which will help to bring in some other quality. So I have seen, maybe coming back to the best practice, we have implemented one of the whatever the collections which we do as a part of reconciliation. So one of the core important activity for the revenue recognition. So we have come across, whatever we get thousands and lakhs of orders on a monthly basis. So we have tried to make an automation between the collections, what we get from our customers and from our system revenue recognitions. So this is part of this journey started from past 1.5 years. So the challenges, there were a lot of challenges because it's getting the teams together, and there will be a lot of pushback, and there will be a lot of difficulty in the change management. So we have to ensure that this process will help reducing manual efforts, but also gives the quality time for review of the things, whatever the open issues or something and all. So I think this is one thing which we have seen in the last couple of years.
Did you do a process changes out there? Did you bring in some kind of transformation? Not just digitizing the workflow, but also bringing in the way the process was being executed. Did you bring in some kind of changes as well?
Yeah, Absolutely, Ashish. So the process change, when I was mentioning, yes, we brought in a lot of process changes, which includes more of a removal of manual activities and more of a, I'm going to say the running of the programs, which will help automation of reconciliation. Now the teams were involved in the review of open items after running the program. So this is the process change which has brought in, which has reduced the manual efforts and more time spent on the quality review.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
so, one last question to everybody, and everybody has maybe a quick fire kind of an approach because we are running behind time. And this is one question which is to every panel member in this sequence, so starting from here. So, where do you see in your industry the potential to use IDP as part of an end-to-end process automation? So, maybe it's a quick fire, a rapid fire kind of a question, basically. So, maybe take a minute and quickly try to answer that.
I'll keep it very generic. One thing is legal documents. Reading whole legal document, can that my machine give me a summary and say these are the few lines or few points which I have to focus and then take decision? That would be awesome.
So that's contracts primarily from a risk assessment perspective.
Contracts with customers, vendors.
Got it. Perfect. Okay. Meenakshi.
I think I'll focus on the finance space. And I think it's a whole huge ambit of it. So, I think I see huge potential there in multi areas, starting with AP. And AR, I think we've sort of cracked it. So I wouldn't say that's a focus currently because we have sort of used IDP for it. So the journey has started there.
Got it.
AP is the next.
Is the next one.
Is the next one.
Okay. And there you want to ensure that the focus is more on paying on time or being able to get a better visibility?
See, I think it's more better visibility as well in terms of, because I'm quite interested with the documents which came up in terms of reading, because here the people a healthcare industry deals with is a huge variety of, it's not only a B2B. So, though it's a dealing with B2B, actually a billing happens from a distributor. It could be the smallest one who's the caterer, it's actually the strata of society we deal with is huge. So the type of bills you would get are quite different. So we will have to leapfrog that step of digitizing and digitalizing at the same time. So we are in that journey.
Fine. Perfect. And obviously you would have maybe at least 3,000 to 4,000 SKUs which you will need to handle, possibly, maybe more. Maybe more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Perfect. Yes, Vivek, over to you, please.
Yeah, I think we have started about the structure by implementing RPS, usage of RPS. I think now it's time for us, I think that's what the video which we was mentioning about unstructured. I think it's a time which we want to start the journey on that, because that gives more visibility. One is visibility and second is more fastening of the processes, which will bring the efficiencies and vendor service and customer service. I think that is the journey which we want to.
And in which area do you want to focus on unstructured?
So I think if you ask me, the first priority definitely will be the accounts payable, where a lot of invoices, a lot of transactions will get involved in that.
Right. So again, finance and AP is the focus area.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So Vidya, over to you.
If you ask me, I would like to have a seamless end-to-end process in all the processes which has financial transaction, because that gives you comfort when you sign off that the financial statements are reliable, because you're signing off for that. So that would really give some comfort. You can sit back, relax and sign. So that would be my takeaway for having an end-to-end seamless process.
Perfect. And Rajib?
Yeah, I think nothing much to add, but I think as she mentioned, wherever there is transactions involved, and payables is a very favorite, because you have a lot of, whether it's procurement or invoices, it's a lot of data which we need to contracts negotiation. Yeah, so of course wherever there is a lot of data involved, it's important to extract the right data when you're negotiating, when you're especially with the suppliers.
Absolutely. So maybe I have a bias out here because most of the audience which is from the finance sector, but I'm pretty sure there are many other areas which I think Vinod also presented, which is you have supply chain functions, you have HR functions. For example, there are customers who have implemented this as part of their employee onboarding journey as an example. You have procurement as a function, procurement and supply chain together, I would say. So contracts management and legal and so on and so forth. So for example, there are customers who are looking at who have implementing it from M&A perspective also, where you go and acquire a company, for example, and you the company which you acquire has maybe multiple thousands of these small contracts. Now you want to figure out what is your risk, what is the expiry, and it's humongously impossible for anybody to go through a voluminous 50 or 100-page document. So that's where bringing that intelligence out of a contract, for example, would be. So like that, there are multiple areas, absolutely. Logistics, and supply chain, so absolutely.
Yeah, but Ashish, if you also look at, I mean, not only from manufacturing, but BFSI, these are basically when you process a loan, there are so many documents, right?
Absolutely.
So healthcare, I think these are more apt, for the IDP.
Absolutely, wonderful. So great insights. Quickly summarizing, I think there is so many customers are in their journey already in some shape and form, at different stages. But one of the most important things which came out was that prioritizing the right initiative, identifying and prioritizing the right initiative is where I think the industry needs some kind of assistance, basically, number one. Number two is in terms of having the right partner was one of the important areas. Right partner, flexible tool, flexible technology, and a flexible partner. Plus, when I was speaking to some people in the audience, they even said, we want partners with maybe the right domain experience as well, basically, because that helps you ease up that engagement with the partner also, basically. And then one of the other important areas which I saw was building a center of excellence. Now, everybody may not have that luxury of building up a center of excellence. And that's where I think if the partner can substitute that by bringing that kind of a thought process would be an important area to maybe think about. And lastly is, I'm not going to the specifics of technology and so on and so forth, but then getting the leadership really having that buy-in and that executive commitment, because all these tasks and activities will take some amount of time. And therefore, you need to have that patience and they need to have leadership to have that buy-in with you, basically, would be an important thing. Otherwise, our managers and our leaders will start asking for, give me the results in the next 3 months' time, and that then starts becoming, you start putting band-aids around it, basically, fundamentally. So really, great inputs from all of you. Really, thank you for your time. Really appreciate all those valuable insights. Thank you very much.